Hey everybody, Sean from Media Assault here, and this is going to be a quick double feature review of the Shout Factory release of Gamera vs. Gaos and Gamera vs. Viras. And as I've been saying in my previous Gamera reviews of the Shout Factory releases, they've done a really good job remastering these films, and the packaging has been excellent up to this point. With this particular release, which is a double feature, there's been some corner cutting, and I'll show you. Inside the previous versions, we got a nice booklet. We've got an anatomical sketch of the villain monster, in the case of Baragon anyway. And this time out, there's no booklet. There's just this one sheet with an ad on the back. The only anatomical sketch is the same one of Gamera that was included with Gamera the Giant Monster, and you get both of the films on one DVD. So that said, there are some cost-cutting measures on the actual films as well. There's no commentary, although both do include the English dubs, and they do include a publicity gallery or like a photo gallery for each film. And I'm going to do a real quick review of both of the movies. I watched Gaos on Thursday night. This is Sunday. And then I just got done watching Gamera vs. Viras just now. And so I took some notes real quick, so you'll see me looking off camera to read these notes I took. It's just because I wanted to make sure I covered everything and didn't ramble on, because these movies, while if you're a kaiju fan, they're interesting to watch, they're really where the Showa-era Gamera series started to decline. Not so much with the Gamera vs. Gaos movie, but definitely with Gamera vs. Space Monster Virus. Like I said, the quality on this does slip a little bit from the previous Shout Factory releases. There are several translation enhancements, I guess you could call it, for both of these films. There is some dialogue that I really doubt was said in the late 1960s in the English translation. This sucks. Don't wuss out. That really freaking hurts. I'm kind of doubting whether or not those were really actually said in Japanese when this was translated. Again, I don't watch these films with the English dubs. I watch them with the original Japanese audio with the English subtitles. So I'm really not sure what the English dubs sound like. Sorry. If you're interested in that, you can always rent them. So taking a look at the actual movies individually, Gamera vs. Gaos, as a kaiju film, it's average at best. This is sort of the beginning of when Gamera started turning into the friend of the children, and that's highlighted where the character Aichi takes a ride on Gamera's back, and he is dropped off by Gamera in the middle of what looks like a carnival or an amusement park or something. That goes on even further in Gamera vs. Viras. The plots for both of these movies, Gamera vs. Gaos, basically there are a series of earthquakes, massive earthquakes, and they awaken this bat-like creature called Gaos, who has a sensitivity to light, and he only comes out at night, but he kind of erupts out of Mount Fuji, which erupts as a volcano again, and he has to fight Gamera. Gaos is a very tough creature, very formidable adversary for Gamera. He's got a sonic ray that he emits out of his mouth, and the movie's kind of bloody for a Gamera film. He inflicts a lot of damage on Gamera. Really, that's about as complicated as the plot gets. Of course, there's more of the ridiculous plot device. We've got to create a project, and build it very quickly. This one, though, it does reject. The military does reject some ideas for being too outlandish and too impractical to build. Although the thing that they build to try to defeat Gaos is pretty gruesome and pretty ridiculous in its own right. The special effects in Gamera vs. Gaos are pretty bad all around, especially the flying scenes of Gaos flying around. Obviously, it looks like a toy suspended by strings spinning around. It looks really bad. And that's really all I can say about that. The plot is your standard Gamera versus monster stuff. Gamera takes a beating and then, comes back and maybe he wins. But since he shows up in another film, I think maybe he does. Gamera versus Viras, it has a really interesting opening sequence that makes you believe that the action is going to kick off right away and stay that way. The plot of this particular film is an alien spaceship flies to Earth and they're planning to take over the planet, but they run into an unknown creature that they weren't prepared for, which is Gamera, who basically destroys the first spaceship to arrive. A second spaceship is dispatched, and this time they have revised their game plan. They're going to take Gamera out first before they try to attack the Earth. And they use this plot device. They try to scan Gamera's memories to find out a weakness, to see what hurts him, and that results in about 20 minutes of stock footage from Gamera the giant monster, Gamera versus Baragon, and Gamera versus Gaos to be used to find a weakness. It's funny, however, that these supposed memories of Gamera appear in third person. I didn't realize most people would memorize things from the first person point of view. But Gamera apparently memorizes things in a third-person view from different perspectives with a musical score. Or you could call it stock footage. And the weakness they find, again, is this transformation into a guardian or friend of the children. He's actually referred to in this film by kids as a friend of all children. So this is the point where the series really nosedives in quality. The 19 or 20 minutes of stock footage is also a particularly low point in the series as well. And I think there's only one other movie that uses more or slightly less stock footage than this film, and that's one of the later ones that hasn't been released on DVD by Shout Factory yet. One thing that I thought was really bad about the plot of Gamera vs. Viras is this sort of logic fault. Not that I'm expecting huge amounts of logic from movies that depict what's happening by using men in rubber suits smashing toys, but basically these two kids are held hostage, and they capitalize on the weakness that Gamera is the friend of the children by holding these two kids hostage, and they tell Gamera he has to do these certain things or they're going to kill these two kids. Well, one of the things that they tell Gamera to do is to attack Tokyo, which is depicted in stock footage from Gamera the giant monster, in black and white no less. But yet in that stock footage from the first movie where he was a villain, he kills people. So he basically, to save two boys, he destroys and kills many other human lives. And then the United Nations and the military kind of waffles. They don't know what to do. Should they sacrifice these two boys or surrender the entire planet to these aliens? The aliens just killed a whole bunch of people. Two more people, probably not much of a sacrifice. Just saying. So this is an all-around bad movie. And the space monster Viras, who is only in the film towards the end, is an interesting concept for a monster, but the actual battle between the monster and Gamera is not that good. And the climax is extremely underwhelming. Which doesn't really surprise me because the entire film is pretty underwhelming. Gamera vs. Gaos is okay. Gamera vs. Viras kind of sucks. And I was kind of disappointed. So I'd give Gamera vs. Gaos a 5 out of 10. I'd give Gamera vs. Viras a 3 out of 10. It's really not that good. A couple more notes about Shout Factory's remastering of these. I did notice a number of spelling errors in the subtitles. And while I don't want to be a grammar Nazi, I just thought it was kind of interesting that they did such a great job translating the first two films in the series, that these next two, they kind of dropped the ball with the quality control. I also noted some time code in some of the subtitled translation in Gamera versus Viras. It's just a time would appear above whatever the people were saying, which is probably a technical error or a pressing problem, but in any case, it did slip through. If you are a Gamera completist, I would say definitely check these out. These are definitely by far better quality than you're going to get anywhere else. They are still anamorphic widescreen versions of the film. And the translation, like I said, even though there's some weird language that creeps in there, and the kids swear in the film, which is entirely possible because most other countries aren't as uptight as the United States when it comes to kids swearing. There are some small problems with this release, but nothing fatal. The movies themselves are of lesser quality than the previous two releases. The actual quality of the packaging in this particular instance is of lesser quality than the previous two entries, but I really don't think that they were going to devote as much time and effort into two lesser films as they did two superior films. So I understand the logic, and I understand that I should just be thankful to have these films in very nice looking versions. I did purchase the next two entries in the series on their double disc, Gamera versus Guiron and Gamera versus Jiger. I'll be reviewing those sometime down the line. I do want to finish my Halloween series and, of course, continue to do the essential movie reviews. So stay tuned for those. As always, hit the subscribe button if you like what you saw today. And if you have any questions, by all means, send me a private message or comment on the video. So thanks again for watching. Take it easy.